Hey, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Now tell me who I'm here with.
You are here with Tiana. I am also known as the PYT.
Okay. Where you from?
I'm from Norfolk, born and raised, and a cusp of me is also from Orlando.
Gotcha. Now tell me about yourself. How was Norfolk?
So Norfolk is a place that is very multicultural, what I can name, because I'm from Bayview, and Bayview is much different than most neighborhoods because you have a lot of mixed cultures. It's not
Right.
just that inner city spirit is what I like to call it that you will run into when you go to Uptown or the different parks. It's a lot of
Yeah.
people who know Park Place, Bowling Park, Roberts Park, a lot of the parks that are now lost in reality, but
Facts. Lost in
they're here in
gentrification.
culture, right? They're here in culture still. But yeah, growing up in Norfolk, it was a culture shock for me because I spent most of my childhood in Orlando. So battling with the culture shock and then becoming small cusps of the product of my environment out here,
Yeah.
it shaped who I am today. So I'm proud of it, and I'm just eager to expand and continue to know myself. You
Right.
know?
And now you being a part of the People's Mic, tell me how that feels. I know you've been a personality beforehand. Just tell me your steps in becoming who you
Well,
are
first
today.
and foremost, I love this. First and foremost, thank you.
Hmm.
This is really dope. Um, the first thing that I ever discovered about myself, the first talent that I ever had was analysis. That's what I always like to say. I was just a pro at just analyzing and paying attention to things and transcribing what I saw.
Hell yeah.
So everybody would notice my personality, my spirit, and my gift of gab. Like I would just repeat kind of what I see behaviorally. So I'm still good at that to this day, grasping talents and gifts through my gift of gab or through my interests. Talking and speaking gets you in a lot of different places. Like I
Hell
hope
yeah.
people know that. So after like me discovering that I love to speak, I love to read, I love to write, I'm thinking like I'm a fucking scientist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm thinking that I have to go into college and do the Ivy League route. The early part of my childhood, I'm thinking I'm gonna go into some form of like psychology or some form. A lot of people, ponder about that when you're always analyzing things and thinking about existentialism, reading and researching so much different knowledge. It just puts you in a place where it's like I'm really understanding the world from a place where I want to help people be a part of that light and learning the truth or learning different truths rather than just one truth. I became obsessed with that. So moving here to Virginia in Norfolk, I was not applauded for my articulate
Yeah.
self.
I
I
can
was
say
not
though,
applauded for that
for
growing
sure.
up in the inner city Norfolk.
Yeah, I can say over here, sometimes we do put down a lot of people, especially what they're doing, and I think that's why this thing we're doing is great for the people,
Yeah.
and give people their voice back.
Yeah.
And I can say though, you genuinely is a very bubbly person, and
Yeah.
you have what it takes to be a personality.
And it's so funny because, like you said, this is my personality, but I feel so heavy speaking on it because it's a heavy topic.
Hell yeah.
And, just thinking about myself and my upbringing out here, already starting off to talk about, I want to be genuine about it. And I'm approaching it from a place where I remember when me being articulate and intellectual was something that was not applauded and it wasn't okay here.
Hell yeah.
And having one form of truth and everybody following one set of belief was something that the common person would do.
Right.
So it immediately made me an outcast.
Hell
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I felt like Andre 3000 in the South. And it's like, I'm going to show y'all what the South talking about. He was like really passionate about that when he got
Yeah.
on stage and he had his opportunity to speak on that.
Right.
But growing up, I married the gift of dance. Dance is also another form of expression.
Right.
And I was going to Booker T. Washington High School, and being on the computer and tweeting and being on Tumblr all day was not good for my body. 1 second.
We can cut that out in post.
Yeah, they're not coming for me. Okay, yeah, they're not coming for me.
But yeah,
Okay, we're good.
as you were
So,
saying with
as
your
I was saying,
gifts of
I was
talent.
going to Booker T, and I remember like being on the computer, being on Tumblr, being on the MySpace. Like I was like an algorithm kid, always coding and being on my page, and it was like I said, opportunity to express yourself, blogging a lot. and being in our friend circles, it was our social networking groups. I wanted to get out of that.
Yeah.
And I met dance at Booker T. Washington High School. It's a man named Richard Roundtree, and he was the head of the performing arts department. And my mom, she's from here. So my mom put some connections together so I can get an out-of-district transfer, and I didn't have to go to Granby. And I went to Booker T for my high school years as, performing arts student. In performing arts, it's beyond acting. It's beyond, singing and dancing. You have to be multidisciplinary in the performing arts program. They literally put you in these programs so you can at least learn the technique and background of these talents and gifts, especially in our community.
Especially. I feel like as a black community, though, like art is determined on everything we do.
Yeah.
And just being an artist, we automatically want to put our hands in different pots.
Yeah.
And so you saying that is very interesting, it's something that definitely needs to be more talked about.
And it's beautiful that these programs did exist, because in my cities, everybody went to different schools based on their discipline.
Right.
If you went to Maury for this purpose, you went to Lake Taylor for the military, most likely program, engineering program at Norview. At Granby, it was the IB program, and I upstaged going to the IB program to be in the performing arts program. So I think that was like what hallmarked me getting into dance and expressing myself through entertainment rather than politicizing my thoughts. I expressed myself through music and dance. I was in the band. I became the captain of the dance team. And that
Congrats.
Literally, that's where it all began. That's where it all began, as far as my ego in dance, my personality, being able to celebrate my femininity in dance.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows when you're a dance girl, and back in my day, it's called a dance girl, not a majorette. I do want to correct that. The dance market understands what I'm saying.
Look, you gotta let it know.
Right. Like, when you're a dance girl, we dance in jazz and we dance in ballet. And you're taught so many backgrounds that are cognizant of what makes you feel proud of who you are, even as a black girl, know?
Right.
So that's where I was able to kind of get my ego back and not care about what people thought and etc. And that developed into me kind of putting it all together in my personality as a dancer. And I propelled forward to go to Norfolk State. And
Go Spartans.
Yeah, after Norfolk State, my tenure there, I didn't necessarily do my full tenure. I will publicly say I didn't graduate. I am a college dropout. But I do want to go back, and I will go back. Mm-hmm. It's just my story, and I'm sticking to it. So,
listen, I feel like there's no shame in that. I feel like people's... Nah, because your life story is yours, and I think that is more of a marathon other than a race. You know what I mean?
I'm fickle with my answers, though, because I do feel like I completed college. Like, college was just something for me to network and, learn a little bit more about my discipline. And I would love to go for a Bachelor of Science rather than a Bachelor of Arts. I'm much more informed about, going to college now. So that's the hallmark part about it. Yeah. But I'm just talking about completion in time.
Okay.
I never want to enter something and not finish what I started. And I don't want to make that a theme, because everybody does need discipline. And I know that if I did discipline myself in that time, my life would be different. Right. You know what I mean? In a positive way. So to go forward, after I dropped out of college, I did propel forward to learn more about the hospitality industry and dive deep into the nightlife industry. And that is like the scapegoat place that we all did. That's the scapegoat place that we went to in order to enjoy ourselves and equally yoke socialize and equally yoke make money and monetize ourselves in the inner city community out here. So I thrived for a long time with Creative Nation, and then after my tenure with Creative Nation, I was able to independently give my services to other local businesses in the area. I had my own events. I've been able to continue to be a choreographer rather than just a dancer. I made myself a professional dancer once I started teaching my own classes, and I created my own brand, Prissy Pop.
Nice.
And I have my own brand, the Prissy Series Loading. So it's just really, really cool, like you said, just seeing how I grew up in Norfolk from my circumstances, spending my childhood in Orlando.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. And congrats on starting your own brand, by the way. That is a big step, always. And honestly, though, moving forward, though, I want to say, Norfolk, one thing about Norfolk and just the 757, I feel like we kind of limit ourselves on our individuality, you know, and just to see you just sprout in your creative ways in all aspects of your life, you know.
And what I want to add most, I just take my time.
Mhm.
I'm not letting anybody rush my process. This process, being a creative generalist, that is who I am in
Right.
essence. I am creative in so many places, which involve my spirit. It involves my mental state. It involves my emotions. It involves my finances and me backing myself. It involves, it's very personal, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that because people are allowed to be so transactional and corporal in their passions, it's like, for example, having a hobby versus a calling.
Right.
When you're called to do so many things, is much different than being called to do one thing or not called to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you could just be a part of someone else's calling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put my ego in there at all. It's just my awareness. And I understand that it's going to take a while for me to be able to blossom in who I am. Like, everybody's not a dandelion. That's what a good friend told me. Like, it's so many different flowers, and flowers grow in their own time. They have their own photosynthesis process, and that's how I look at my creativity, and that's how I look at my journey, my story. You know, I put it all together. I don't want to compartmentalize my journey.
Yeah, and your story is beautiful, you know. And I just want to ask though, since now moving forward, you're going into Infinite Empire. How's that been?
So my relationship with Infinite Empire has been very interesting, exciting, and honestly, you know, I'm looking forward. It's fresh.
Right.
I'm looking forward. I'm glad that we come from the same area. I'm glad that we culturally agree with, you know, the destination that we want our area to go. And I'm excited to be a personality and trusted to be one of the people that represent what Norfolk looks like on a girl, you know, like me, the PYT.
That's amazing, you know. Speaking with you has been very, very eye-opening, you know, just to the whole Norfolk state and everything about that. So, where can we find you at?
We can find me on Instagram mainly. That's like my main DM, contact, info, anything. Prissy Much, Prissy, period, much, MUCH. Just like pretty much, but Prissy Much. That's what it's giving.
Okay.
And you can find any other social media platform I have outside of that through that vessel.
Nice. Any final words to the audience before we close it down?
Make sure that y'all stay tuned because Infinite Empire definitely has a lot in store. I'm super excited to be a part of this, and thank you to everybody that's a part of this. Seriously.